So Ravens flock, the 2022 draft class is entering their fourth season, and several of those players from that class are rumored to be in the midst of contract negotiations with the Ravens. So they could be seeing contract extensions in the near future. And I wanted to revisit that draft class to actually talk, and not just talk, but also regrade that draft class 3 years later, because by far, I believe this is the best draft class in the Eric DeCosta era. I've been very critical of Eric DeCosta at times, but this class has definitely aged very well, and I wanted to go back and revisit it. But before that, I actually wanted to talk about the 2021 season. Just real quick, recapping what led to that draft in the first place. The 2021 season was filled with some turbulence, but despite that turbulence, we were overcoming the obstacles that were in front of us. We had multiple comeback victories. I think the most notable one was the game against the Indianapolis Colts, where Lamar set the franchise record for passing yards. Hollywood Brown had like the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Hollywood and Mark Andrews had like about 120 or 140 yards apiece. Calais Campbell, he blocked the field goal, and then he almost blocked another one, which caused the field goal kicker to miss. Like, that was one of my favorite games over the past decade. But either way, it was a very turbulent season. Despite all of that, we had the number one seed. We were 8-3, but then Lamar gets hurt, and at that point, everything fell apart. Like, we went 0-6 the rest of the year. We didn't win any more games. We only needed like one more win to make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, but it doesn't matter. We pretty much tanked. We lost every game for the rest of the season. And then from there, we end up with the 14th overall pick, which is the highest pick that we've had in quite some time. I think maybe the last pick that we had that high was probably, I think it was probably Marlon Humphrey, like, because I think we drafted Marlon 17th overall. But either way, we have the 14th pick. Everybody's excited. We're all wondering, who are we going to get? We all had our personal opinions about who we should go after. I know around that time, I believe I was really interested in Drake London out of USC. But I think he went like 7th overall though. But as far as the Ravens, once we get to the 14th pick, we pick up Kyle Hamilton. And I was on the fence about it. Not because Kyle's a bad player. He's obviously the best safety from that class. Him and Brian Branch were like the best safeties in that class. But I was very shocked by this decision because we had just signed Marcus Williams. But obviously that has aged very well due to the fact that the Marcus Williams signing aged very badly. But Kyle Hamilton he's developed into the best safety in football, or at least top 2. But you look at the rest of the draft class, we had Kyle obviously at 14. We traded Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals to get their pick. So we also had another first round pick. We used that for Tyler Linderbaum. Then we also, in the second round, drafted David Ojabo. Then third round, we get Travis Jones. Fourth round, we get Faalele. Then we also get Charlie Kolar, Jalen Armour Davis, Isaiah Likely. And then we also pick Jordan Stout. Then you get to the fifth round. We had so many fourth round picks. Like, I'm reading it right now. I keep forgetting that we picked so many times in that round. But yeah, we also picked Demarion Williams, aka Pepe Williams. Then also to end the draft, we picked Tyler Batty in the 6th round. Now, a couple of those guys have just simply not worked out. But as far as the top of that class, Kyle Hamilton, stud. He's been an all-pro. He's been a multi-time Pro Bowler already. Similar thing with Tyler Linderbaum. He hasn't been all-pro, but he's been a Pro Bowler multiple times. Even though the Pro Bowl really doesn't mean much when guys like Faalele make it, but we know that Tyler Linderbaum is actually somebody who is indeed good enough to justify getting that nod. The David Ojabo pick is easily the most laughable pick in this draft, because as we all remember, that pick was the pick where EDC had the option to go get George Pickens out of Georgia, and he instead chose to get David Ojabo. Mind you, the Ravens, and this one pick is a big reason why I don't fully believe the Ravens truly believe in that concept of best player available, because the best ability should be availability. And David Ojabo, coming out of the draft, the man was injured. Whereas George Pickens, He was at a position of need at receiver. He fit that big body wide receiver mold that many Ravens fans always talk about. And also, he just simply wasn't injured. So this draft pick didn't make sense to me. It was very unfortunate that we made this pick. Obviously, we see that pick age very badly. David Ojabo, he's been a bust at this point. Maybe he turns it around, but I doubt it, honestly. Now, it's not to say the George Pickens pick was perfect for Pittsburgh, obviously, but even though George Pickens in Pittsburgh didn't work out, you can't deny George Pickens' talent. He easily, from a talent standpoint, is a top 10 wide receiver in football. And we could have had that on the team with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and everybody else. I think that would have been very dangerous and just very fun to watch overall. So that's the biggest and most offensive draft pick, but there's still several other picks in here that were very solid. Travis Jones out of UConn, obviously. He's not a star as far as on a mainstream level, but we as Ravens fans, we all know that Travis Jones was balling last year before, obviously he got banged up, but when he was on the field with Matabike, it was obvious that Travis Jones was a force to be reckoned with. I'm not sure if the Ravens are going to be able to extend him. Fortunately, I think they may end up having to let him walk after next season, because if he plays at that level again, I think he's gonna price himself out. But we'll see. That's still a good sign, though. Obviously, if you have somebody good enough to price themselves out. From there, you got Faalele. Again, I'm not a big fan of Faalele. I don't know many people who are, but I don't think he's the worst player ever. Obviously, I don't see why the Ravens have tried so hard. Actually, I'm lying. I do see why. The man is 6'8" and like 400 pounds. They're hoping that if they just wait long enough, eventually he could really be the force to be reckoned with, because again, with that size, you can't teach somebody to be 6'8". If they're somebody with his measurements, you can't teach that, obviously. So they're holding out hope that it could work out. And I mean, maybe, but I really doubt it at this point. Maybe if he lost a little bit of weight, maybe he could move a little faster and actually get his hands on people consistently, but I don't know. Either way, we drafted some guards this year. I don't think they're bringing back Faalele, but at the same time, the Faalele pick, I can't say it failed, because he's still on the team, and whether we like it or not, he's been the starter, and somehow he got a Pro Bowl nod. So it's a decent pick. The Jalyn Armour-Davis pick, that pick has aged terribly, obviously. Like, Jalyn Armour-Davis, I can't even remember games that he's played in, honestly. It feels like he's been injured for the entirety of his time with the Ravens, so there's nothing to say about that. The Charlie Kolar pick is very solid. Charlie has been a really solid number 3 tight end. He's really our best blocking tight end. I think if he gets a chance to elevate into the number 2 tight end position, I think he could still be solid as well. But only time will tell if the Ravens end up doing that. I think that is their plan ultimately, they're going to let Mark Andrews walk next year and then elevate Isaiah and Charlie to 1 and 2. I think that'll work out fine. Jordan Stout, I don't think he's the best punter. Whenever we have to punt, I do get a bit nervous, because then I think about moments like the Las Vegas Raiders game in week 2 when he had that botched punt that only went like 10 yards. But he's a fine punter. I'm gonna count that as a win. Isaiah Likely, now, to me, and this may sound very weird, but to me, I think Isaiah Likely is the best draft pick in the Eric DeCosta era, the entirety of the 7 years. And I'm not saying I think he's a better player than Kyle Hamilton or Zay Flowers, but what I'm saying is, for the Ravens to find Isaiah Likely in the 4th round, like the value that Likely has brought as a 4th round draft pick, I think that is insane. It's like Isaiah Likely is essentially what people thought Kyle Pitts was gonna be. Not to say Kyle Pitts is a bad player, but you know what I mean. Like he's in that same mold where he's that guy who has all the wide receiver traits, but he's trapped in a tight end's body. He always makes the first person miss. He's crazy nimble. He's fast for a tight end. I think this is truly, from a value standpoint, the best draft pick that was made in the Eric DeCosta era. I don't know if Eric DeCosta himself picked Isaiah or if somebody else suggested it. I'm not sure how it happened. Either way, he was the general manager when this happened, so I'm still gonna give him credit for it. And as far as Pepe Williams, I had high hopes for Pepe, but it hasn't worked out. Tyler Batty, there's nothing to say. It didn't work out for him either. Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, I forgot to mention earlier, they obviously were studs. Tyler, I don't think he's perfect, but I think he's still like a top 5 center in football. So that's exciting. Kyle Hamilton, I think he's the best safety in football. I'm sure many of you think that too. At worst, you could say maybe top 2, top 3. So either way, this is a really good draft class. You're talking about like six players here. Like you got one Kyle, Tyler, Travis Jones, Falele, Jordan Stout, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kolar. You got like 7 players who either are stars or at the very least are respectable contributors to the team. This is the ideal draft class that I think the EDC tries to go for every year, but it just never works out. 2022 is the only year that this happened. I've said many times, I'm not a fan of EDC's stubbornness when it comes to hoarding draft picks. As we know, EDC has an addiction to draft picks, so he tries to hoard as many as possible. And I don't like it because it's not that I don't want him to trade up every single year, obviously, but I just want to see them be a little more flexible at times, because some years we should have traded up, honestly. Like, let's remember, guys, we were only 6 picks away from Justin Jefferson in 2020. That was the year we drafted Patrick Queen at 28. We could have got Justin Jefferson at like 21, 22. I am not saying that trading up every year is the way to go, obviously. I just would like to see a little more flexibility. But if EDC is going to stick with this method of only, not trading up and just hoarding as many picks as possible, he needs to have more draft classes like the 2022 class to justify that method. Not saying he has to hit the ball out of the park every year, but we need to see more than one draft class in a 7-year window that looks as good as the 2022 class. And I'm hoping that 2025 can be that year, because low-key, when you look at the 2025 draft class, if there ever was a year where EDC can look really good and have his picks age well, you would think it would be this draft class. Malachi Starks, if he's everything he's advertised to be, and he, barring injury, him and Kyle should be a great safety tandem. That pick should age very well. Mike Green was the second best pass rusher in the draft. Obviously, he fell because of off the field issues. We got him in the 2nd round. So in theory, those 2 picks should hit. Now, as far as the rest of the draft class, I mean, Tyler Loop, I just want, in order for EDC to justify his method of never trading up, I just want to see us hit on about 45% of these picks. 45% of 11 is 5. That's not even 50%. If he hits on 5 this year, I think at that point he would be vindicated, and people like me and many others can leave him alone when it comes to his method, his approach to the draft and never trading up and only wanted to hoard picks. But I do think that this class can age very well, obviously. You look at guys like Mike Green, Malachi Starks, those 2 picks should easily be hits similar to the 2022 draft, where you have Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, and both of those picks hit. As far as the rest of the class, I'm hoping Tyler Loop can be league average. If he's league average, I think that's a hit as well. That would be 3 people. As far as Teddy Buchanan, I mentioned in a previous video, I think he has a shot to beat Trenton Simpson for the starting middle linebacker role. That could be a hit. And then from there, you just need one person out of 7 or 8 guys. You just need one of these guys to surprise us and be like that Isaiah Likely kind of figure who exceeds all expectations. I don't care if it's Robert Longerbeam. I don't care if it's not Aeneas Peebles. I don't care. I don't care if it's Lejante Western, like whoever it is. Hopefully, one of these people can come through and be at the very least a respectable contributor. Because then at that point, if that plays out, because in my opinion, this draft class we just had, it reminded me of the 2022 draft class. So my hope is that it could age as well as the 2022 draft class. But let me know, do you think the 2022 draft class was actually that good, or do you think that I'm overrating it? And do you think the 2025 draft class has a chance to age as well as the 2022 draft class did?